Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're in the kitchen today and we are going to make pizza. I know we've already done it, but we're going to make a different pizza crust. So today we're going to make a cold fermented pizza dough. This is a little more traditional than the basic pizza recipe that I gave you before. It also takes a longer time to make. So you're probably going to be making this for 2 to 3 days, maybe as many as 5 days. It's a lot of fun. Takes a little effort, but it's worth it. And the dough is chewier and crisper, and it's an all-around better dough. It just takes more time. So let's get started. You are going to need 4 cups of bread flour or all-purpose flour. It doesn't really matter. There is a pizza flour you can get. You could use that if you like. You do not have to. So you can just use your regular flour. Give that kind of a little mix and make a well in the middle. We are going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. There we go. Give that a mix. Make another well in the middle. We are going to add half a teaspoon of, this is going to be quick rise or instant yeast. You don't want to use traditional unless you really want it to take a long time. This stuff will work faster and we're not pre-dissolving it in water. And when I say work faster, this is still going to take 2 days to make. So give that a mix. Okay, this is a very simple recipe. There's not a lot in it. You could add herbs or seasonings to the dough at this point. I'm not going to right now because I'm just showing you a basic fermented pizza dough. Now we're going to add 1.5 cups of just room temperature water. You don't want it warm or cold, so just room temp. Give that a mix. You're not going to use the wooden spoon very much longer. This is just to get everything mixed together. Kind of like that. When your dough looks like that, you're going to switch to using your hands, and you are going to stay working in a bowl. If you have any jewelry on, like I always have my ring on, take that off, put it to the side, because this can get a little bit sticky. So we're just going to remove any dough from the wooden spoon, and we're not going to use the wooden spoon anymore. So we're just going to get in here and we're just going to incorporate our flour and kind of start kneading it a little bit. But really what we want to do, ignore the dryer, really what we want to do is get that flour incorporated. We do want to make a dough. And then we are going to add olive oil because I know someone's going to ask. You are going to add olive oil to it after you have a more incorporated dough, because you notice this is all still very loose. So we want to get all of those little pieces incorporated. Okay, and this will take a few minutes, maybe. Maybe it won't. It depends on the humidity and the temperature, because those doughs incorporate better at a slightly higher humidity. So it's looking okay. It's not finished, obviously, but that's okay, because we're actually going to add some olive oil to it now. I'm just getting dough on my hands. That's fun. So we're just going to take our olive oil, and you're just going to pour some olive oil right on the dough. Okay? Turn that dough over. How much? Just a drizzle. It's not really measuring. You're not really measuring the olive oil. You're going to do this by feel. So then you're going to get your hands in there, and you're going to start kneading that olive oil into the dough. Okay? This is when you're going to pick up the rest of the scraps, because you can use your dough now to wipe the edges of your bowl. Okay. See, we just start turning and twisting our dough. And look, see, it pulls away from the side of the bowl, and it picks up anything left over when you have your olive oil. Now your hands will be oily. That's kind of the point. You want to incorporate that olive oil completely so you don't have some spots that are not olive oily. You want that olive oil through the dough. There we go. This only takes a couple minutes, so this isn't hard to do. There's no sense in doing this in the bread maker. You could, but it doesn't really make any sense because you're going to have to transfer it to a bowl anyway. So there really doesn't make any sense for us to use the bread maker in this case. We're just going to do it by hand. But keep it in the bowl because it is kind of sticky. There we go. Hey, that's looking good. That actually looks really good, and it should still feel quite sticky. So set that bowl aside for a minute and get a clean bowl. It can be a bit smaller. Take your olive oil, drizzle some in the bowl, and then get your hand in there and just make sure the bowl is coated. Okay? Coat that bowl with the olive oil because you don't want any sticking. Now you're going to take your dough, place it in the bowl, put a drizzle of olive oil on top, and now we're going to put a lid on it and cover it for 30 minutes. Okay? Put this lid on. A little harder with hands that are, there we go. A little harder with hands that are slick with olive oil. But put a lid on. You're going to leave that for 30 minutes. So we will come back in about 30 minutes and I'll show you what to do next. All right, so our dough has been resting for 30 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this lid off just like that. Our dough looks pretty good. We are going to deflate it by pushing it down into the bowl with our fingers. Let it spread out a little bit. There we go. It is covered in olive oil. There's olive oil on top of it and underneath it. That's what we need. Now we're going to pop the lid back on it and we're going to put it in the fridge for 20 to 24 hours. It does really take that long for this dough to develop. It will not be ready to turn into pizza tomorrow, but we will come back and check on it. So until then, we just have to stick it in the fridge and wait. All right, it has been 24 hours since we first set this dough aside to start rising. It has risen. Okay, it has. It's getting there. It's just very, very slow. Okay, very, very slow. So what we're going to do is we're going to peel this dough out gently. Want to be gentle about it. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to pull the dough, turn it over itself, rotate the bowl, pull, rotate, pull, rotate. One more time. Pull, rotate. There, go. Flip the dough over, just like that. Okay? Just like that. Now we are going to let it sit at room temperature for about 4 hours, then it's back in the fridge until tomorrow at least. You can leave it as long as 5 days in the fridge before you make pizza, but we're only going to leave it 1 day. So we will leave it at room temperature for about 4 hours, then it's back in the fridge until tomorrow, and then we will come back tomorrow and start making our pizza. All right, so our pizza dough has been in the fridge for an extra 24 hours. Remember, you can leave it for up to 5 days. I only left it 1 day after its initial rise in the fridge. So you can leave it longer, but I only left it 1 day because we want pizza tonight. So that's what it looks like now. It's actually looking really good. What we want to do now is we want to leave it for 2 to 3 hours at room temperature just so it can fully warm up. So don't touch it, don't punch it down or anything. We're just going to cover it up again, leave it for 2 to 3 hours, then we'll come back and I'll show you how to get ready to make the actual pizza. While your dough is resting for its 2 to 3 hours, you need to prep your pizza stone. You also might have a pizza steel. Now this one has been around a while, so it actually does have some staining from mostly being used over an open fire. You can also do that. But we're using this in the oven today because it's February and freaking cold and we're not going to go outside and try and start a fire. So, prep our pizza stone. You can't just put your pizza on here and cook it. You want to heat this stone up to really, really hot. So what we're going to do, slam the oven apparently, what we're going to do, take the pan out of the oven. We are going to take our pizza stone and put it in the middle rack of the oven. Just like that. So we're just going to put the pizza stone in there, close the oven up. The reason we have a cloth here, by the way, is this is a glass cooktop, and pizza stones on glass cooktops tend to scratch. So if you are using a pizza stone or pizza steel, cloth on your cooktop. Now we want to turn our oven on. So to turn our oven on, we want 475 about. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to turn our oven on to 475. And we are going to leave it and let it preheat for an hour before we even think about putting our pizza on the stone. Because those stones need to be piping hot in order for this to work. Okay, in order for it to turn out perfectly, we're going to turn the oven light on so we can see our stone in there. There we go. There's our stone. Very nice. So in order for this to work out, that stone has to be piping hot. So we're going to ignore it for at least an hour to make sure that stone is nice and hot. Just because your oven says it's preheated doesn't mean it's ready. So we'll come back when we're sure that stone's piping hot. All right, while our pizza stone is preheating in the oven, we can actually start working our dough a little bit. So you're going to need a bowl of flour. How much flour? Doesn't matter. You just need a bowl of flour. You're going to need your dough. Look at how nice that looks. It's much warmer. It should come out of the bowl pretty well. Remember, we oiled that bowl really well. So take that out of there. Don't need this bowl anymore. Get rid of that. So take your dough, kind of work it, get some of that air out. If it sticks to you should use a silicone mat. If it sticks to your surface, you can use a little bit of flour. You might not need to because this is pretty oiled, so it doesn't stick. But use a silicone mat. It helps prevent sticking. Just squeeze some of those bubbles out. Don't work it too hard. You don't want all the bubbles gone. Now we're going to divide it into 4. 4 roughly. It's not really that important. Okay. Make balls. Stick, stick. 1. Stick, stick, stick together. 2. Stick that one together. 3 balls. 4 balls. Now we're going to take our balls. We're going to just dip them both sides and then throw them on our silicone mat. Okay, so just dip them both sides. There we go. Now we're going to cover these with a tea towel and let them sit for, half hour or so, 20 minutes at least. Won't need that flour probably. You might, so keep it, but probably you're done with it. So just let these guys sit. Again, 20 to 30 minutes. You can cover them with a damp towel, but not too damp because these guys could stick. I know they're well oiled and now they're floured, but they could stick. So barely damp tea towel goes over these guys, and then they get to sit for 20 to 30 minutes just so they can relax a little bit. All right, these should be plenty relaxed now, so let's just take the cloth off. Very nice. We are going to transfer these to a plate to get them out of our way for a minute. They have relaxed. They kind of feel like puffy marshmallows. That's how they should feel. Handle your dough gently at this point. You don't want to pop those air bubbles that we've worked so hard to get in there over the last couple of days. So now for the next step, you're going to need a couple of things. One of them is a pizza peel. This one's long, nice long handle. A pizza peel aids you in taking it in and out of the oven because you can't take the pizza stone out when it's piping hot. The pizza stone should stay in there. This helps you get the pizza into the oven and then later out of the oven. So you build your pizza on here. Before we put our pizza on here, we need to coat it. I'm going to coat it with semolina flour. This is like a pasta flour that you can get at some specialty grocery stores. I have heard that it's more difficult to find now since the pandemic. So knowing that, I will put a link to one in the description so that you can purchase it online if you can't get it locally. So be generous with this. You want quite a bit because you don't want your dough sticking. There we go. Put that aside. Put the peel aside. We'll need it in a minute. So we're going to take one of our doughs and we're just going to start stretching it. Stretch it in your hand. This is why you need your flour nearby because you might need a little more flour. This one's not bad, not too sticky, but you don't want to rip your air bubbles or your dough. So just be gentle. Stretch it here and there. You can stretch it any way you like. You could toss it. I tend not to because often I miss. I used to be good at it when I was younger and had better coordination. I have very bad coordination. How big your pizza is going to be entirely up to you. So how big do you want it? The larger your pizza, the thinner the crust. The thicker the crust, the longer it may take to cook. So you're just going to stretch. You're just going to let it relax. This could take a few minutes. Don't be shy about taking your time. It's okay if this takes you a few minutes. I tend to go slower anyway just because I like to make these pizzas. I can do it really fast, but I like making my pizzas. So take your time, relax. If it takes you a few minutes to get your dough sorted, that's okay. You can work both sides of it if you want. You do not have to. I am just because I want both sides looking nice. But use your fingers. Do not use a rolling pin. Rolling pins will smash all your air out, and that's not very nice. So just gently keep those air bubbles in. Very nice. It can be any size you want. Do you want a smaller pizza? Do you want a bigger pizza? It doesn't matter. There we go. Okay, remember your dough has to naturally stay in its position. Just because it's going on the pizza peel that's coated in flour, it should not stick to the pizza peel. You don't want it to stick to the pizza peel. That would be bad. So you're just going to let it take its natural shape. So if you want it bigger and thinner, you're going to have to spend a little more time working on it. Okay? So we're just going to nice and neat. Now I'm actually going to make 2 pizzas at once. I am going to make one on the pizza stone that I showed you. That's heating up. There's cat. Ignore the cat. We're all going to ignore the cat. So we're going to ignore the cat. Magic. You can't come up here. Sorry. There's a cat who wants to come up on the counter when I'm cooking. He can't. So I actually have a second pizza peel. This one's much smaller. And I'm going to make 2 pizzas. One's going to be on the pizza stone in the oven. The other one's going to be on our pizza cooker that I do show in my basic pizza dough recipe. We're going to do both. And then you can kind of see how different they are. They're not so different, but they do have a different effect. So they taste different, sort of. Okay, there's a different feel in your mouth. So we're just going to kind of play with this. So we're going to stick this guy over here because he's in my way. And we're just going to grab a second dough and we're going to do the same thing. Okay? And then we're going to load them and then we're going to put them in the oven. One in the oven, one on the pizza cooker. I'm not going to make you watch me stretch the second one. So we will come back in a few minutes when both are sufficiently stretched. All right, so our pizza dough is nicely stretched. No holes or anything, though if there was a hole, that's not that big a deal. So we're just going to take our dough and turn them over onto their respective peels. Just like that. You can adjust their shape if you want. So let's get my other peel here. You can adjust their shape. I tend not to because who's eating the pizza? I am. I don't care. So there we go. Pizza's on the peels. Now we just have to get some ingredients on them. All right, so we are doing cheese pizzas just so you can see the difference in how they brown. It's easier to see if there's only cheese. If I put a bunch of pepperoni and stuff, it's harder to see. So we are going to get this one onto the pizza cooker. And for that, I'm going to have to change camera angles. There we go. This is our pizza pan, and this is the pizza cooker that the pan goes on to. Because the kind of pizza cooker this pan is cold when we put the pizza onto it. So that's one of the reasons why there's a difference when we put one in the oven on the heated pizza stone. So we're just going to slide this off here. Now, do I have to use the pizza peel for this? No, I could have built it on there, but did I do it? Yeah. Why? Wanted to. So you want to slide it off, and you can use a spatula if you like, just to make it easier to slide. That's how you use a pizza peel, by the way. You slide it from the peel onto your pan or your stone. Then we're going to take our pizza, put our pan in according to the manufacturer's directions, which sometimes takes a minute to get it right. There it goes. Plug it in. Starts to rotate. Set our timer. This guy will be ready in 18 to 20 minutes. Now we're going to show you how to get the other pizza onto the pizza stone in the oven. All right, so our pizza that's going on the pizza stone in the oven, the first thing we want to do, open the oven. You don't want to try to maneuver with your pizza peel and your oven door at the same time. It's annoying. So then we're going to take our pizza peel. This is why it's got such a nice long handle. Okay, this is so that we don't end up burning ourselves. And we can either kind of jiggle it forward, or we can actually use our spatula a little bit. See, it jiggles forward nicely right onto the stone. There we go. Nicely and right onto the stone like that. Then we're going to close it up. This is going to take about 15 minutes, give or take, depending on your oven, how hot that stone is, and how thick your stone or your pizza steel is. The thicker your pizza steel, the longer it'll take to cook. So we're not going to stare at these pizzas for 15 minutes. We are going to come back when it's time to take this one out of the oven. Okay, that pizza in there is just about done. Remember to clean off your pizza peel, and you don't want that flour on there. Then we're going to gently open the oven. Get your pizza peel, because this is how you get your pizza off of there. Get it on there, shake it up onto there, get it up onto a cutting board. Yes, that is a pizza-specific cutting board. Isn't that fancy? I love it. So that is your finished pizza. I know it looks delicious. We are going to wait a few minutes for the other pizza to be finished, and then I will show you them side by side. All right, so that pizza is done. It did ding, but I wasn't recording when it dinged. So the way we get this off of here is we put our oven mitts on. We take the whole pan off. Put it on a little folded tea towel because the pan is uneven because there's a nubby on the bottom. Then we are going to grab our other pizza peel. And we're just going to pull this guy right off. Come over here. So that you can see the two pizzas side by side. This is the one that was done in the oven on the pizza stone. Look at that crust underneath. Look at that crust underneath. Looks good. This guy, look at that guy underneath. He's a little paler, but he is cooked. He looks fantastic. Now, if you really want to get into pizza making, you want one of these beautiful pizza cutters. Just take these guys, rock it back and forth, and there's your cut pizza. We'll cut it again. These pizza cutters are fun. Mine's not as sharp as it used to be. And there you have it. Your pizza, ready and delicious. These are really fun pizzas to make. You don't have to go with the pizza stone and the oven. You can use the pizza cooker. I will provide links to most of the products I've used here so you can kind of decide which way to go and which way works for you. This is a lot of fun, but it is a lot of time. And remember, you can cook regular pizza dough just this way as well, but there's something special about this cold fermented pizza dough. It is particularly delicious, particularly crisp, and an awful lot of fun. Thanks for joining us in the kitchen today. I hope you enjoyed making cold fermented dough and turning that into pizza. We'll see you tomorrow.